Good evening, everyone. I'd like to humbly acknowledge the land in which you live, learn, work, and play. It's Treaty 8 territory, traditional lands of the Cree and Dene, and unceded territory of the Métis people. And for the record, we have Councillor Ball, Councillor McGrath, and Councillor Granison joining us via Teams. And if anyone in attendance wishes to address council on any of the agenda items, please register now with the legislative desk located to my right. You must register prior to the start of that agenda item which you are speaking, and registered delegates are permitted 5 minutes to speak and must remain on topic. Before we adopt tonight's agenda, does anyone wish to serve a notice of motion? Councillor Dogar, you have a notice of motion?
Hold on, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the council move into closed session at PM. It is, what is the time now? At 6:22 PM.
No, sorry, Councillor Dogar, we're not. Councillor Weigel, can you show them what part of the agenda we're on, please?
That's the in-camera session. So we're here. He just asked. Sorry, we're even. We're just here checking for a notice of motion.
I don't think we're there yet. Again, does anyone have a notice of motion they wish to serve? No, sorry, Councillor Dogar, I'm just looking for a notice of motion this time. Just be a minute, okay? If there's no notice of motion, can I have someone make the motion to adopt the agenda as presented? Councillor Dogar, wait, your button again.
This motion.
There you go. Go ahead,
Yes.
Councillor Dogar.
Not signed in. That's okay.
This is what I presented.
Yeah, you can present that one right now. Now's the time to do so.
Okay.
Okay?
I move that the agenda be adopted as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Dogar. Thank you for seconding, Councillor Walkwood. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Not seeing any. I'll call for a vote.
In favor, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor McGrath. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove any items from the consent agenda? Hearing none, can I have someone make that motion? Councillor Weigel.
I move that the recommendations contained in items 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, and 6.4 be approved.
Thank you. Have someone second that motion? Thank you, Councillor Benjoko. The call for a vote.
In favor, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor McGrath. Councillor Ball. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll now move on to the public hearing for land use bylaw text amendment regarding the Gateway District. Before declaring public hearing open, there's an overview of the hearing process. Public hearing will be open followed by the introduction of the item by administration and questions from council. We'll then move into written submissions and hear verbal submissions from any speakers present, followed by questions from council. To finish, we will hear closing statements, then the hearing will be declared closed. So hereby declare public hearing open at 6:26 p.m. Public hearing is a legislative process, and in making a decision on a proposed recommendation, council can only consider information received through this hearing. As a reminder, should you need to leave the chamber during the public hearing, please call for a point of privilege and we'll take a brief recess. I'd like to invite Amanda Heides, Sutch Chinook, Planning and Development Services, to provide an introduction and opening statements, please.
Good evening, members of council and administration. For the record, my name is Sutch Chinook, Manager of Development Planning. I also have with me Amanda Heites, Acting Director of Planning and Development. I'm here to present an amendment to the land use bylaw to add 2 uses to the existing Gateway District. Planning and Development Services received an inquiry from a developer interested in developing a warehouse with an office, maintenance shop, and equipment storage in Quarry Ridge along Highway 63. The site for this proposed development is zoned as Gateway District, the purpose of which is to allow for vehicle-oriented commercial developments along high-volume, high-visibility corridors. This zoning, however, does not currently allow for warehouse and storage uses. The proposed amendment was circulated to municipal departments and adjacent properties for feedback, and no concerns were received. If approved, this amendment will allow for warehouse and storage and warehouse sales as discretionary uses within the Gateway District. Given the site is located along Highway 63 in the urban service area, it could also contribute to addressing the demand for warehouse space in the municipality. The proposed amendment is in alignment with the 2018 Commercial and Industrial Land Use Study, SILUS, that recommends considering the demand for warehouse space in accordance with the changes in market trends and Council's strategic plan that identifies local economy as one of its values. Considering this, and in alignment with supporting businesses in the region, administration recommends that the proposed amendment to add warehouse and storage and warehouse sales uses to Gateway District in the land use bylaw be approved. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Sutch. Do we have any questions from council? I'm not seeing any. Do we have any written submissions that need to be acknowledged?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've received no written submissions for the record.
Do we have anybody registered to make a verbal submission?
We have no registered verbal submissions for this item.
Is there anybody in the gallery who wishes to come forward to present? Are there any other questions from administration? As a reminder, once the public hearing is closed, no further questions or information gathering can occur. Does administration have anything further to add? I now declare the public hearing closed. Coming out of public hearing, we now have second and third readings of bylaw number 24/001, land use bylaw regarding the Gateway District. Can I have someone make the motion for the second reading of the bylaw? Councillor Weigel.
I move that bylaw number 24-001, being a text amendment to the land use bylaw number 99-/059, specific to Gateway District, be read for a second time.
And thank you for the second, Councillor Ball. Then the debate, discussion, or comments from council? Not seeing any, I'll call for a vote.
In favor, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
For.
Thank you, Councillor McGrath. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Can I have someone make the motion for the third reading? Councillor Benjoko.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that bylaw number 24/001 be read a third and final time.
And thank you for the second, Councillor Weigel. Are there any other debate or discussion of council and comments from council? Not seeing any, I'll call for a vote.
In favor, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Grandison.
Or
Thank you, Councilor McGrath. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Such. Thanks, Amanda. Next, we have a report on community plan and homelessness funding. I'd like to invite Dan Berge, Community Services, to introduce the report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Deanne Berge. I'm the Director of Community Services. With me this evening is Olive Wooden, Chair for the Homelessness Initiative Strategic Committee, or HISC, and Janelle Fleury, Manager, Community Partnerships and Initiatives. We are presenting a request for funding for the 2024-2025 Community Plan on Homelessness grant cycle. The HISC Committee was approved by Council on September 19th, 2023. They have delegated grant approval authority for both the federal Reaching Home and the provincial Outreach and Support Services Initiative funding. On January 17th, 2024, the HISC Committee passed a resolution requesting that the municipality allocate $132,068 to fund the 2024-2025 Community Plan on Homelessness funding agreements. The additional $132,068 is intended to be allocated to prioritize prevention and increase capacity to reduce chronic homelessness and to provide continued support for encampment response. Administration reviewed 11 funding scenarios to ensure fiscal responsibility and to have the ability to reduce chronic homelessness. The administration recommendation for HISC's consideration provides consistency in existing programming for the chronic homeless populations while maintaining support for individuals experiencing recurring homelessness. This change focuses on the current need in the system by housing the most vulnerable first. This will provide movement for individuals actively on the by name list and ultimately reduce the number of encampments. In 2023, administration met with designated federal and provincial representatives requesting a funding increase ahead of the 2024-2025 grant year. These requests were denied. It's anticipated that the federal funding will be further reduced for the 2026 to 2028 funding years. The HISC Committee is requesting Council's support to advocate to both levels of government for an increase to Reaching Home and Outreach Support Services Initiatives funding to support ending homelessness and to prevent the need for increasing funding contributions from the municipality in future years. The administrative recommendation is that $132,068 be allocated from the Emerging Issues Reserve to the Community Partnerships and Initiatives 2024 operating budget to be granted by the HISC Committee in the 2024-2025 Community Plan on Homelessness grant cycle, and that Council advocate to the federal and provincial governments for increased Reaching Home and Outreach and Social Services Initiative funding, respectively, for future Community Plan on Homelessness grant years. That concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. We'll go to questions. Do we receive any funding from federal or provincial government for HISC at this time?
Through the chair to the chair, the majority of funding comes from the federal and provincial government. The provincial government provides $3.4 million and the federal government provides $1.5 million.
So they're just falling short is where we're at right now.
Through the chair to the chair, we're falling short for the programming. Through COVID, both the provincial and federal governments provided a lot of additional funding. So we understand and we're readjusting our approach. This recommendation that's coming forward to the HISC Committee is brand new. It's something we've never tried before. Administration receives a portion to provide this, so the actual staff that work on this are paid for by the provincial and federal government. Some other municipalities have allotted more of a gift in kind, so they don't take that drawdown, but it doesn't tell the whole picture. So our intent is to come forward and be transparent to say, this is how much it's costing in our community, and these are the additional funds that we need.
Perfect. Thank you, Dan. Councilor Dogar, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, ma'am. Good presentation. I just want to ask you, how many people are homeless in this town?
Through the chair to Councillor Dogar. So effective today, we know that there's 36 individuals living rough. So that means living without a home out on the street. And we have 93 individuals on the by name list. So 93 individuals are looking for a home.
Is there any houses with the housing department vacant? Maybe CEO knows it.
So through the chair to Councillor Dogar, the individuals that are experiencing homeless are housed through the agencies. So we don't directly as the municipality offer these services, but there's caseworkers on the ground with each of these agencies that works with these individuals. So those caseworkers we meet with on a regular basis, and they look to build a relationship with landlords, whether it's in an apartment, sometimes it's in a hotel, and sometimes it's in an individual's home.
For this amount, we are asking for, this is the additional amount to construct new houses?
Through the chair to Councillor Dogar, did you say to construct new houses?
Yes. Are these funds for the new houses?
Through the chair to Councillor Dogar, these funds that we're asking for are rental funds as well as wraparound support services. So this includes providing support to individuals that may have addiction problems. So it's really one of the things that we've changed this particular year coming up for 2024 to 2025 is we're not offering rapid rehousing. One of the things that we have experienced in the past is rapid rehousing isn't actually rapid. So the individuals get into a home, but they're actually not able to stay in the home because they don't have the wraparound support services. So we're suggesting using Housing First. Housing First comes with caseworkers that support these individuals to be successful in whatever home they're in.
Okay. This includes homelessness, who are single.
Through the chair to Councillor Dogar, this includes homelessness for those who are single.
Single, there are two for the single I have seen. One is Salvation Army behind this building. Mm-hmm. The other is Center of Hope on Marshall Street, probably Marshall House. So have you catered for these in your presentation?
Through the chair to Councillor Dogar, we work closely with those agencies. So those agencies, the Salvation Army offers shelters as well, and that's provided completely through the provincial government. We don't fund that, and it's not funded in what's coming forward to you today. But we work closely with those agencies, and those are two of the agencies of the four that work on the ground with the individuals experiencing homelessness.
Fine, thank you. I have visited sometime and it is organized very well, Salvation. And that one, there's a overstaffing there. There are two separate agencies. Regional municipality is also doing one floor. The other floor is doing by the province. There's a lot of overstaffing. My next question is, have you ever tried dome housing?
Through the chair to Councillor Dogar, so one of the things, as the community-based organization, that's what we are. The funds flow through us and we provide some support, but the actual work happens with the agencies. So the housing initiatives that are presented to individuals are all through the agencies.
But madam, this is taxpayers' money and we are custodian of it and is collected here, and agencies, we ask questioning or answering. Don't they come here on the council to reply?
Through the chair to Councillor Dogar. So when council approved the HIS committee, they also approved delegation of the funding that comes from both the province and the federal government.
Okay, thank you. My idea was to bring it to your attention. Thank you.
Councillor Grandison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the end, I guess my question in all of this is, historically, if memory serves me correct, the federal and provincial funding were able to accommodate the needs of the HIS committee and all of their various projects and so on and so forth. is this opening up a new level of funding which will carry on from year to year to year?
Through the chair to Councillor Grandison. So always in the past, we've tried to manage within the funds that were given from the federal government and the provincial government. So in the times when there was additional funding through COVID, one of the things that we added was street outreach workers. So what that's done is, when I said that there was 95 individuals on the by name list, that's a 98% increase over last year. But that's not bad news. That's just news that means we've been able to tap into those individuals who are living rough because they have seen the program work and they're coming forward because they also want to be housed. So I think that the homeless is changing, and you see it across Canada, even across the world. It's different. The needs are different, so we're trying to adjust our programming to meet those needs so that we can get everyone, we can end homelessness.
And I understand that, Deanne, and I've certainly been involved with the homeless initiative. I was doing street counts 20 years ago, but at the end of the day, my question is, are we creating kind of an expectation now that the municipality will be augmenting or subsidizing this funding year after year after year? Like, I'm somewhat concerned about creating a precedent with a lack of funding.
Through the chair to Councillor Grandison, that's certainly something that we've considered, and that's why we brought the advocate for further funds forward. Our concern is, if the funding isn't approved tonight, we'll adjust our strategy. But in that, there will have to be something that's dropped. And more than likely, that would be the prevention piece. So our intention is to ensure that those that have housing can stay in housing. So that's where that prevention piece comes in. So we are aware that we want to, we want that advocating happening so that we're not continuing to increase the funding. And as I said earlier, some other municipalities are adjusting by not taking their administrative fees. We haven't done that yet. We'd bring that forward for council's consideration if that's the way we were going. But at this time, the best case scenario to end homelessness is to have this additional funding.
Well, and I guess my my next question is it working? Are we ending? Like, how many? It's $5 million. Last year was $5 million. The year before, $5 million. The year, like, is it working, or is this an ongoing expense that is not accomplishing the outcomes that we're hoping? And I don't know. I'm just being naive in that regard.
So through the chair to Councillor Grandison, do I think it's working? I do think it's working. I think we're ending homelessness for some. Do we need to do more? I think we do. There's a piece that we're missing. We're working closely with Indigenous agencies to try to help that piece, because we know that 60% of those that are experiencing homelessness are Indigenous. So I want to believe that we will end homelessness, or at least get to functional zero, where everyone that wants a home is in a home. And I think we're on the right path to doing that with this new funding model that's coming forward. It's different than anything we've ever done before. And I think I think there's going to be next year when we come forward. On April 1st, if the funding's approved, it's not going to end homelessness. We have work to do. We have housing to find, but it's going to be a start. And I think as we come forward each time, it's going to be better and better.
And again, I think your staff have done an amazing job. I see Olive sitting beside you. I know Olive's been involved for many years, but are we supplementing federal and provincial responsibility? I guess really what it comes down to is my fear as responsible counselor for our municipal funds is that we expect the feds and the province to do their part. And if we keep funding them, they'll stop funding them, has been my experience. And that's part of my concern, is that if we do this, do we just let the feds off the hook? Because if 60% of the homeless population is Indigenous, then really that's more federal funding that should be required. Is that not correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Grandison, absolutely. And and you're right, I want to add to that the team does incredible work, both the HIS committee and the team on the ground that's working with these individuals, as well as our team here at the municipality. That's where the hard work is happening. We talked about this afternoon when we were preparing for coming here. We talked about, you know, if this was a project like fixing a road or doing something, it would be easier to say, hey, the feds really need to kick in that money. We're talking about individuals that don't have homes, and we're doing everything that we can with the funding that we have, and maybe with this additional funding that council will approve tonight, to ensure that everyone that wants a home has a home. So I do agree that the federal government and the provincial government need to take a look at this. What we have learned from the Canadian Alliance to End Homelessness is that the federal government's looking at a different model rather than reaching home. So we're deeply concerned. We're aware that the funding is going to be much less next year, could be up to $600,000. So I think this is something we need to keep our eye on. But for 2024 to 2025, this additional funding will help us really make some moves forward in ending homelessness.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grandison. Councillor Banjoko.
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. Thank you for the presentation. Going back to Wood Buffalo housing, reading the report, we have over 10% of the for vacancy rates. So when I was getting ready, I was wondering if we are aligning our strategies and utilizing some of this. I know the homelessness is not only about the physical homes, the case management part and all that, but I'm just wondering if we are doing anything to utilize some of those empty homes. And I also realized that in the past there was a comment about releasing some of those homes to become subsidized type or something like that. I'm sure CEO would be able to put it better. So I'm just looking at, can we create some efficiencies there?
Through the chair to Councillor Banjoko, we're always looking at creating efficiencies and finding those landlords. One thing I will say is on the HIS committee, the Wood Buffalo Housing sits there as well. Okay. So they're at the table, they're hearing all the things that we want to do. With this funding model that we're proposing, it's going to open up 54 spots. So 54 individuals can be housed. Again, it won't happen right on April 1st, but one of the things that we also have to be cognizant of is saturation. So if you're bringing individuals together, we have to make sure that all those support services are there. So it's better to have a pocket here and a pocket there for those individuals' success, rather than having one place where everyone is, unless it's permanent supportive housing where there's 24/7 care. So when it's an individual landlord, the agencies are very cognizant of who's where, so that we can make sure that they're as successful as possible. But we work closely with Wood Buffalo Housing. They sit at the table at the HIS committee. They hear the data, they hear the facts, and then we try to work forward together to figure out a plan.
So are we getting more houses, the subsidized housing, as that increased? I think the approval comes from the province, right?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Banjoko. So that subsidized housing piece is what happens when individuals graduate from this program that is the Community Plan on Homelessness. And that's our intent. Our intent is to be able to graduate people out of the program so we can continue to move people through and end homelessness.
Okay. And then I also wanted to check with the progress that is being made for the rural communities. I believe they started some projects in Conklin and...
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Banjoko, that's very separate from this program. I don't have information on that at hand.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Banjoko. Councillor Stroud.
Does any funding go directly to the rural hamlets?
Through the chair to Councillor Stroud. So with this particular program, the Community Plan on Homelessness here, the funding is all for urban. But there is a rural development network that does provide funding to rural communities, and they've just put out a call for proposals for $4 million. I believe it just closed, actually. But in all of Alberta, the Rural Development Network manages that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stroud. Are there any other questions for administration? Do we have any delegates to this item?
We have no delegates for this item.
Thank you. Can I have someone make the motion? Councillor Walkman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that $132,068 be allocated from the Emerging Issues Reserve to the Community Partnership and Initiatives 2024 operating budget to be granted to by the Homelessness Initiative Strategic Committee, HISC, in the 2024-2025 Community Plan on Homelessness grant cycle, and that Council advocate for the federal and provincial governments for increased reaching home and outreach of the Social Services Initiative funding, respectively, for future Community Plan on Homelessness grant years.
And thank you for seconding that, Councillor Bajoko. Do we have any debate or discussion points from council? I'm going to say first that thanks for everything you guys are doing. The municipality, HISC, everyone. I hear from Lethbridge, Grand Prairie, Red Deer. They ask us what we're doing that's so effective because although we do have homelessness, we do have encampments, we do have stuff here in our community, I believe we're leaps and bounds ahead of everyone else. And it's not just me saying it. That's sitting down with Lethbridge, and they're like, what are you doing? What are you doing right? And my only answer is we have the right people up here. So I will support this motion. And also in saying that, I'm going down to the province February 28th. I'll definitely push for this. I'll push to the federal government, and I'll let them know their carbon tax rebates and the electric heat pumps really don't work if you don't have a place to live on those initiatives. So I'll definitely push hard for this, and I think we have the support of our MLAs, our ministers, and our MPs. So we'll definitely all work together. So I do back Councillor Grandison's comments about when we take on something, it ends up being our bill eventually. So we need to really put our pen to paper right now and get the provincial and federal government to step up like he had mentioned. So I will support that, and I commend you again for everything you guys are doing. Councillor Grandison?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just in terms of comments, I won't support this, and not because I don't support the advocation and not because I don't support the work that this committee has done. At the end of the day, you know, we turned down funding to these a number of different agencies because we don't have the money. And at some point in time, we don't have the money. And in my opinion, we don't have the money to do what the federal and provincial government should do. And we can't support a number of initiatives for, you know, within our own community as well. So I don't know. I don't know how to draw the line. I just find it challenging that we continue to let's draw money out of our reserve to do something that the federal government and the provincial government should be doing. When does that end? When we can't even support some of the initiatives that are going on in the community right now. So that's where I'm coming from. So thanks for the time there, Mr. Mayor.
No, thank you, Councillor Grandison. Councillor Stroud?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. And at this time, I'd just like to give a shout out to the Chard Métis Nation and Conklin Resource Development Advisory, who have approached industry for funding support. These mainly volunteer groups collaborating with industry are making huge strides in some of the rural communities in regards to homelessness. I have seen some of the homes that have gone up in Jonvier and that are starting in Conklin. So there are other initiatives and other ways to get funding, and I appreciate what we're doing in the rural right now. Thank you.
And thank you, Councillor Stroud, and I think I'll see some of those houses tomorrow morning in Conklin. Thank you. Councillor Ball? I think you're on mute, Councillor Ball.
My bad. Sorry about that. I guess I just have one question. I get the whole, we can advocate on behalf of, to try and get the province and and the feds to pony up the extra dollars. But in all reality, I guess, what's the likelihood that they will? Do you have a perception of that at all?
Through the chair to Councillor Ball, all of Canada is advocating right now. So we are part of the Canadian Alliance to End Homelessness, and we just had a presentation this week, and in it is talking about how you can get your elected officials to support this. So it's a big concern, and I would say all of Canada is doing this right now.
Okay, I can appreciate that all of Canada is, but where does that put us on the list? The bottom or the top?
Through the chair to Councillor Ball.
I think I know the answer. So, okay, no, thanks.
We have a good track record so far. I don't know. Councillor Walkman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, thank the three of you for the presentation. I truly support the amount. The one thing I'd like to say is thank you for everything that you've done in this region. I visit the Marshall House quite often, and it's never overstaffed. Matter of fact, I find it understaffed. So I do volunteer there, so I do see the people coming and going, and I can't say thank you enough. But thanks for the presentation, and I truly support this.
Thanks, Councillor Walkman. Councillor Ball, do you have another question? No. Thank you. Councillor Banjoko?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman, and I just want to openly support this this ask as well. Affordability is tough right now, and some people are actually falling out of regular homes, and homes are going for foreclosure. And like Mayor said, if you don't have a place to sleep, it's going to be tough to walk. So I totally support this, and I don't think this amount is the biggest bill to get this done. In as much as we would like to see good results from all the efforts to end homelessness, we can't give up at this time. So thank you, I'll be supporting that.
Thank you, Councilor Majoko. Any other comments, questions, or debate points from council? I'm not seeing any, so I'll call for a vote.
In favor?
Thank you, Councilor McGrath.
Reconsidered. In favor.
Thank you, Councilor Cranston. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. And thank you, ladies. Next, I report in 2024 Forest Resource Improvement Association of Alberta grant application support. I'd like to invite Fire Chief Jody Butts, Regional Emergency and Protective Services, to introduce the report, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Jody Butts, Regional Fire Chief and Director of Emergency Management. Tonight, I'm seeking your support to authorize the Mayor to send a letter of support to the Forest Resource Improvement Association of Alberta on behalf of the Regional Municipality Wood Buffalo's Fire Smart application for the 2024 Fire Smart Wood Buffalo Home Assessment Program. A letter of support is a necessary requirement of the FRIAA grant application process that we've done many times before. The application being submitted this time is for $54,450. We'll focus on the Fire Smart principle of education by offsetting the costs of employing 2 summer students for the month of May through August. As well, offset the cost of compensation for rural department members for purpose of performing home assessments and providing education of the principles of Fire Smart in helping protect properties in their communities from wildfire. These rural members will be used mainly for home assessments in their communities when they are available and have time. But however, if they do find some time and availability to help with our planned public engagement events, we gladly welcome them to join in. Utilizing our our local rural fire department members to perform home assessments in their own communities leverages and strengthens the importance of the message within the community. Familiarization with residents will provide the best one-on-one wildfire advice to residents in reducing fire hazards appropriately. They will be trained and supported by the Fire Smart Wood Buffalo program alongside the summer students to ensure the information is accurate and responsive to each one of the community's needs. I'll just take a moment as an opportunity to remind Council of the work currently underway with previous approved applications from the FRIAA grant funding program. There is currently $543,649 worth of approved grant funding being applied to vegetation management projects in Fort Chipewyan, John V, Anzac, and areas of Fort McMurray. And in addition, if you may recall in this year's budget that there is an opportunity for residents to apply for a rebate for certain upgrades to their homes provided that a Fire Smart Wood Buffalo home assessment is completed. In previous years, there were only 2 summer students available to complete over 600 assessments for this rebate program. Utilizing the rural fire department members to complete these assessments is an additional way to ensure that our rural residents have the ample access to apply for the rebate program as well. That's all I have. Happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Chief Butts. Sort of questions. Is this, for the size of the municipality, is this amount of funding adequate enough to cover Conklin, John V, Anzac, our urban center around the outskirts? I know we did a lot in Fort Chipewyan last year, the fires. There was quite a bit done around the community, so I think that'll be a lot less than we need around some other places. This is going to be enough funding to cover all this?
Through to Mayor Bowman, as I mentioned, we've got a little over $500,000 worth of grant funding in motion at the moment. I think it comes to a capacity issue at that point. We are very busy doing that work. We're guided by that wildfire mitigation strategy approved by Council. The FRIAA grant program allows for $200,000 per community per year. And so that's what's available there. Now, not region, there's every one of our communities, so call that 7 different communities times 200,000 per year.
I was getting at the question.
Yeah, so that's available,
right.
But we're following that wildfire mitigation strategy, making sure that we're responsible with the funding that we receive. And I'll say that we've been, we are very well positioned in regarding, we have a plan that I know the province is, they're concerned the effectiveness of this grant funding, making sure that it does actually reduce wildfire risk. We have a plan. We've certainly got commitment from our mayor and council, and we have a way to execute this funding. So 3 key areas that are part of the application process that serves us well.
Perfect. And with Fort Fitzgerald, do we do anything there? Is that covered with MOUs with Fort Smith?
Certainly, through the chair to Mayor Bowman, Fort Fitzgerald, largely provincial jurisdiction. Conversations ongoing and continue. I know that we, in previous years, have been up there doing some burn abatement work. I know the province has done their own vegetation management up there. So yes, to answer your question directly, it does include all areas of our region, with the exception of the national park.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have any other questions from council? Councillor Stroud?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman, and thank you for the presentation, Chief Butts. Conklin, is it under Lac La Biche or is it under our region?
I think I know where you're coming with that question. It's certainly under our region and included as part of our wildfire mitigation strategy, 100%. I think what you're referencing, though, from a forestry fire protection area, it does lie within Lac La Biche, that and Janvier. But that's we're trying to prevent the fires, and that's the work there. And when on the other side of that was when we're trying to put fires out, that's we're having to deal and talk with Lac La Biche Forestry.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question, Councillor Stroud. Do we have any questions from council? Councillor Banjoko?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. Thank you, Chief, for the presentation. Just to be clear, the 54,000 is it's funding for students to carry out the inspection, correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Benjoko, yeah, it's to offset the cost to 2 summer students.
Yes.
And as well as I would like to have our rural members out within their own communities, educating residents and talking fire smart within their own communities. I believe that that's a worthy piece of work for them, and I'm hopeful that the message will translate well.
Okay, and the students will be engaged within the, I think, 4 months of the summer, so there will be time to prepare them, or are there specialized skills for this? I think,
yeah,
I was just wondering how they'll be ready and go and perform within the time frame.
Yeah, no, thank you for the question. Through the chair to Councillor Benjoko, summer students is not new to the program. We've been using them for probably the past 3 to 4 years. They are, I guess, a requirement to be a university student, so they come with a set of skills. They're largely their role is engagement and delivering, I guess, the education pieces of the program. And they are well prepped. They're very well supported as far as searching out accurate information. Yeah, it's and on the other side of that, we talk about creating opportunities for our youth within our communities to have a summer job and maybe expand their horizons a little bit. And building humans is a common theme that I keep repeating to our team. So we've had really good success, and I'll say very grateful we had them last year. These 2 summer students completed 600 home assessments throughout the region, which was tremendous. It'd be very difficult for us to do that otherwise.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Majoko. Any other questions from council? Not seeing any. Do I have any delegates to this item?
We have no delegates for this item.
Can I have someone make the motion? Councillor Benjoko.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the mayor be authorized on behalf of council to send a letter of support to the Forest Resource Improvement Association of Alberta for the regional municipality of Wood Buffalo's Fire Smart application for the 2024 Fire Smart Home Assessment Program.
Thank you. And thank Councillor Wago for the second. Do we have any other debate, discussion, or comments to this motion? Councillor Dogar?
Excuse me, can you repeat the question?
Do you have any debate or comments to this motion?
No, it's okay. No motion.
Okay, your light was on. Okay,
That was for asking.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Do we have any other questions, comments, or debate points from council? Not seeing any. Call for a vote.
Or in favor, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McGrath. Thank you, Councillor Grandison. And that's carried unanimously. Well, thank you everyone for attending today's meeting. It's a short one. And have a good evening. Marcy Cho, Kinmas Kumpton, and have a good night.